Good morning, Foundry. So glad that you guys invited us to be with you today and that you can be with us. A lot of times we're saying we're glad that you're here with us in this room today. Now we're saying we're glad that you've invited us into your space. And we're just here together to worship and for some teaching today and to get fired back up again. And we would love to know that you were with us today. And so we've created an online Connect card. So just a quick little form that you fill out. You can go to our website, and under the Connect tab at the top, the very top thing, it just says Connect card. Take you like 90 seconds tops to fill this out. Just let us know that you were with us today and kind of what's going on in your life. And if there's something we can join you in praying for, we'd love to do that as well, and you can drop that there.
Yes, and coming up, we have the Going Beyond with Priscilla Schreier. It's a hard name to say. Friday, May 1st. And I know some of you have already signed up for that. It's going to be virtual, and it's going to be live. So you can connect with women. You can join in for worship and teaching. You can go to our event page to see all about that. And the best part is it's free. And I think we all need it. We all need some really good encouragement and worship and teaching together. And you'll be able to connect with other women here at Foundry during it as well.
Yeah, and we're still in our Meals, Masks, and Making a Difference campaign. And again, just to keep a live update on that, we have now, in partnering with ACA through this Meals Mask and Making a Difference, they have been able to donate well over 100 meals. And the deal with that is for every 2 meals purchased, ACA Catering is donating 1 meal for free to a family in need. So that's been super awesome. You guys have responded really well and been placing your orders. And from what I hear, those meals are delicious. So keep placing those orders and making that a thing. And if you're out there making masks or you're finding masks and you're able to bring those up and continue to fill our tote out front with those masks, we are continuing to get those to people that are in need. And again, as we said last week, if you are in need of a mask, if you're trying to get out and you don't have a mask and you would like one, just notate that on your communication card or put that in the comments here on the stream, and we will be able to make sure that we get a mask to you. And also something fun that we've been doing over the past couple weeks is this family ministry resources tab on the webpage at foundrychurchkc.com. Julie and I have been working hard every week to update those, to give you, to equip you with the things that we're usually using, the tools that we're usually using in our classes here at the church, so that you can continue to minister to your students at home, your kids at home. And Wednesday nights, we've actually, for Refinery students, our Sunday night youth program, we've moved it to Wednesday nights, and we're doing that virtually via Zoom, and we've been doing that for the past couple Wednesdays. It's been hilarious. It's fun. It's unique. We're doing everything new because it's on Zoom. So it's been a lot of fun. And this week, if you have a student in 6th through 12th grade, you do not want to miss it, because we are doing a talent show via Zoom. So it's going to be awesome. This was supposed to be our week to do our talent show here in person, so we're just going to flip it, and we're going to do it on Zoom. And so check out, all the information on that is on the Family Resources tab. You can find out how to get on the Zoom call, or if you need to, my direct number's on there. You can text me and get information. And last thing, make sure to sign your kids up for camp. If you've got a junior high student or a high school student that's going to be in junior high or high school in the fall, man, just get on and sign up your camp like everything's normal, because we are still hoping and praying that everything's going to be normal, and camp's going to continue. I was on the phone with CIY again this past week, and they're still planning and prepping like camp is going to happen like normal. So get on, sign your kid up, get that deposit, and lock in their spot.
That would be on the event page.
Yep. All this stuff is on the event page. Yep. Going Beyond and everything else, you can find it there, and you can register and get plenty of up-to-date information. Yep. So today, we are in the very last week of the Hope Comes Back to Life series that we've been doing. This is the week after Easter. And if, by the way, for some reason you weren't able to catch last week, we really hope that you'll maybe pick that up sometime to go back and watch Easter's message last week and what we were doing there. And then this week, we're in the week after Easter and everything that's on the other side of resurrection. And so Peyton is going to be teaching from a story that happens right on the other side of resurrection.
So what is on the other side? What is on the other side of everything going on currently? What is on the other side of all of this? If you're at all like me, you've probably been asking some questions, if not that question, something similar to that over the last day, week, month, maybe even all of 2020 so far. What is on the other side of this? You see, I think that a lot of us are in the same boat today. I think a lot of us are asking these same similar questions. Maybe for you, maybe you've been quarantining at home for 3+ weeks or so at this point, and you've run out of a chore list. You've done everything maybe that you can to fix up your house, or you're avoiding the honey-do list that's waiting for you at home. What is on the other side of everything? Maybe during this time, you've found yourself without a job, or the job that you have has cut your hours back drastically. What is on the other side of this? I don't know how I'm going to feed my family. I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills. I don't know how I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do without this job. What is on the other side? And maybe the biggest question that we should be asking ourselves during this time, specifically in this week, what's on the other side of Easter? Or maybe even a more poignant question, what is on the other side of Jesus? What is on the other side of Jesus? Last week, 1 week ago, we celebrated the death, the burial, and the eventual resurrection of Jesus Christ. He came and he did everything he said he was going to do. But what's next? What is on the other side? Luckily for us, we're not the only ones who have found ourselves in a similar situation. You see, the disciples who spent time with Jesus during his life and during his ministry, they found themselves in a very similar situation, and they really at almost the exact same time. A week or so after Easter, they found themselves asking the question, what is next? What is on the other side? Our passage that we're going to be in today is John chapter 21. If you have a Bible, or if you're using your Bible app, or whatever that looks like, go ahead and pull that out. And we're going to be in bits and pieces of all of John chapter 21 today. So we're going to land there. But what's happened here in John chapter 21 is the disciples have returned back to Galilee. And they've started to do something. This is after Jesus has already seen them once since the resurrection. He's coming to see them again eventually. They know where to be in Galilee, but they don't know when. And so they're just waiting for Jesus. And it picks up right here. In John chapter 21, starting in verse 1, it says this. Afterward, Jesus appeared again to his disciples by the Sea of Galilee. It happened in this way. Simon Peter, Thomas, also known as Didymus, Nathanael from Cana in Galilee, the sons of Zebedee, and 2 other disciples were together. I'm going out to fish, Simon Peter told them. And they said, we'll go with you. So they went out and got into the boat, but that night they caught nothing. The disciples returned back to what they know. They returned back to the lives they once had as fishermen. Now, don't get me wrong, the life of a fisherman wasn't all that bad. You see, there was a lot of actually pros to having living the life of a fisherman during that time. You had pretty good job security. People always have to be eating. And with the Sea of Galilee being right there, fish was a huge product during that time and in that place. And so being a fisherman, you had pretty good job security, as well as you probably had really, really good pay because people were willing to pay you for food. And so the life of a fisherman wasn't that bad. And to be honest with you, if I was in the disciples' position here, I would probably go back to it as well. You see, you've done this 2+ year internship with Jesus, this obvious internship of a lifetime, but probably with little or no pay. And so for 2 years, you don't get paid for anything, and the life of a fisherman looks pretty good again. So they return back to what they know. It continues on in verse 4. It says this. Early in the morning, Jesus stood on the shore, but the disciples did not realize that it was Jesus. He called out to them, "Friends, haven't you any fish?" "No," they answered. He said, "Throw your net on the right side of the boat, and you will find some." When they did, they were unable to haul the net in because of the large number of fish. Then the disciple whom Jesus loved said to Peter, "It is the Lord." As soon as Simon Peter heard him say, "It is the Lord," he wrapped his outer garment around him, for he had taken it off, and jumped into the water. The other disciples followed in the boat, towing the net full of fish, for they were not far from shore, about 100 yards. Jesus meets them right here where they're at. And Peter is beyond excited. He's ecstatic. He puts his clothes back on, and he jumps into the water, and he swims for what it says, about 100 yards back to shore in anticipation that Jesus is back. He's getting to see this friend that he spent so much time with. He's so excited that he leaves all of his friends in the boat to do the rest of the work, to haul in this huge haul of fish. And they get to Jesus. All the disciples gather around. And over the next few verses, it tells us that they share a meal together. They have breakfast the next morning together. Now, it doesn't say a whole lot of conversation that happens during this breakfast, and they were eating, and so, like you and me, you don't like to talk a whole lot while you've got food in your mouth, but I think that there's kind of an unspoken conversation that happens here between Jesus and the disciples. There's this unspoken conversation, and Jesus is really posing this question just by sitting in their midst during this breakfast that they're having this morning. And I think he's asking him this. He's asking them, why are you right back where I found you? Why are you doing this? Yes, I may have told you to meet me here, and I didn't really give you a timeline, and things may have been uncertain the last time I left, but why are you returning back to the work that I found you in? Why are you right where I found you in the first place? Isn't that how we treat our relationship with Jesus sometimes? Don't we encounter God and he pulls us out of something? Sin, addiction, whatever that may look like. He pulls you out of the situation, pulls you out of whatever it is that you need to be pulled out of, and you're high on life, right? You have this amazing moment with Jesus, and things are going well, and you're getting your life together, and then sometime down the road, you're right back where you were, and Jesus meets you there again, and he asks this question, why are you right back where I found you? I think he's asking the disciples that question, that very same question that he's asking us today. Why are you returning to the things that I pulled you out of? I think this is a question that we need to ask ourselves today. What about your life do you need to never go back to because of Jesus? What about your life do you need to never go back to because Jesus? Is it that addiction that he pulled you out of the first time? Is it that relationship that's so toxic that you don't need to be in? Whatever it is for you, you fill in the blank here. What is it that you need to never go back to because Jesus? The disciples went right back to fishing, and he's asking them, why are you right back here where I found you in the first place? And then after this unspoken conversation, Jesus turns to Peter, and he has this amazing, intimate, one-on-one conversation with Peter. And this is our main text today. John chapter 21, verses 15 through 19. If you guys would please stand with me this morning as we read this. Starting in verse 15, it says this. When they had finished eating, Jesus said to Simon Peter, Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these? Yes, Lord, he said. You know that I love you. Jesus said, feed my lambs. Again, Jesus said, Simon, son of John, do you love me? He answered, yes, Lord, you know that I love you. Jesus said, take care of my sheep. The third time he said to him, Simon, son of John, do you love me? Peter was hurt because Jesus had asked him the third time, do you love me? He said, Lord, you know all things. You know that I love you. And Jesus said, feed my sheep. Very truly, I tell you, when you were younger, you dressed yourself and you went where you wanted. But when you are old, you will stretch out your hands and someone else will dress you and lead you where you do not want to go. Jesus said this to indicate the kind of death by which Peter would glorify God. And then he, Jesus, says to Peter, follow me. You guys can go ahead and be seated. 3 times, Jesus asks this question of Peter. Peter, do you love me? Peter, do you love me? Peter, do you love me? And 3 times, Peter answers, yes, I love you. Of course, I love you. Lord, you know that I love you. 3 times that Peter has to answer the exact same question. Jesus, I love you. And that mirrors the 3 times that Peter denied knowing Jesus just a mere week before this very event. You see, on the day of the crucifixion, Even taking a further step back, a couple days before that, Jesus told Peter, he said, Peter, you'll deny me 3 times. There will be 3 separate times where people will recognize you and say, hey, weren't you the one who was with Jesus? Didn't you walk with Jesus? Don't you know this man? And 3 different times, Peter, you'll tell these people that you don't know who I am and that you're not the man that they think that you are. 3 times he denies Jesus. And on that 3rd time, the 3rd time that Peter says, I'm not who you think I am, I don't know that man, Jesus is in the very courtyard that Peter's in. And they lock eyes just after Peter denies knowing who he is. And Jesus locks eyes with Peter, and you can just see Peter break. Because everything that Jesus had said was going to happen has come true. Peter did the very thing that he swore would never happen. He denied Jesus 3 times. And so 3 times, Jesus asks Peter, do you love me? I think there's some power behind Jesus asking these 3 questions. You know, aside from the fact that he denied him 3 times, and that may be the reason why. But I think there's something else that we need to recognize here. I think that Peter hadn't fully surrendered. Peter hadn't fully grasped what was happening, and he hadn't fully surrendered his life to a life of following Jesus. You see, Peter is a guy that likes control. Peter is a guy that likes to be the guy in the room. And we read that all throughout Scripture, right? Peter is the one who walks on water to meet Jesus. Peter is the one who pulls out a sword and cuts off a Roman soldier's ear on the day when they come to take Jesus. Peter is the guy. He wants to be the guy in the room. He wants to be in control. He wants to know what's going on. Peter is the guy. And Jesus is saying, you can't be the guy. I'm the guy. You have to be the one to follow. I think there were things in Peter's life that he hadn't fully surrendered. I think Peter liked control. And I think Peter was also full of shame. I think Peter was full of shame because of what happened just a week before this breakfast that they shared with Jesus. Peter was ashamed that he failed the test. He spent 2 years being with Jesus. And Jesus instructing them and doing all of these things. And he saw all the miracles firsthand. And when the exam came, when the big test came, he failed. And he denied Jesus 3 times. I think Peter was full of shame. We read in verse 18 and 19 that Jesus is going to completely unravel Peter here. He's telling him, you're going to give up control. You dress yourself now. You've dressed yourself since you were little, and you've gone wherever you've wanted to go. But when it comes to the end, you're going to have to lift up your hands, and people are going to have to dress you. You're not going to get to pick out the clothes that you wear. And you're not even going to be able to go wherever you want. People will lead you, and they'll take you places that you don't even want to go. Peter has to give up control. And he has to let go of his shame. I had a question that really was tugging at me this week, and I didn't know how to react to it. I didn't know how to, there wasn't an answer. But the question that kept coming into my mind as I was reading this passage and I was studying and I was doing all this, the question that kept coming in is, why didn't Peter run across the water back to Jesus? When the disciple tells him, hey, that's Jesus that's on the shore side, why didn't Peter just run right back across the water? He's already walked on water before. And I think it's because Peter's demeanor had completely changed. I think the shame and the guilt of everything that had happened was weighing on Peter. And I think his approach to Jesus changed. Even though he was excited to see his friend, I think he was still shameful and embarrassed by what had happened. He hadn't let go of some of the things in his life that were keeping him from doing what God had called him to do, what Jesus had asked him to do. I think that's the second question we need to ask ourselves today. What about your past are you letting keep you from God's plan for you? What about your past are you letting keep you from what God has for you? For Peter, it was the shame and the guilt and the inability to really give up control of what was going on. And he was letting that keep him from what God, and specifically Jesus had called him to do. And the crazy thing about all of this is Jesus, like I said, he completely unravels Peter here. He's like, Peter, you don't understand. 1 week ago, when I did all that stuff that I said I was going to do, that was for you. It wasn't for you to just go tell other people about. That was for you as well. My death, my burial, my resurrection, it was for your sin as well. I knew what was going to happen. I knew you were going to deny me, and yet I still went to the cross for you as well, Peter. God's telling Peter, your failure isn't going to keep you from doing what I've called you to do. Your failure is actually going to launch you into your mission and what I've called you to. And he's telling us the exact same thing today. The things of your past, the shame, the guilt, the failure, whatever it is that you identify with today, it's not keeping you from your personal mission with God, your personal walk with Jesus. It's not keeping you from that. It's actually launching you into it. And Jesus is telling Peter that, and he's telling us the exact same thing today. And we know this because of the last thing that Jesus says here. He says, follow me. He says, follow me, Peter. And Peter's mind is blown here. Because this isn't the first time that Jesus asked Peter to follow him. And to be quite honest with you, this was probably a huge deja vu moment for Peter. Because very likely, they're standing in almost the exact same place that they would have been the first time that Jesus said, follow me. When he said, follow me, I want to make you fishers of men. He says, Peter, follow me. And Peter realizes this. And he says, oh my gosh, everything was for me as well. It wasn't just for others, it was for me. Follow me, Peter. And he's telling us the exact same thing today. So what is Jesus asking us to do? When he says, follow me, what is he asking us to do? I think there's two really specific things that he asks of us in this passage. And he does them himself. And they're simple and they're for us as well. You need to feed and you need to follow. Jesus feeds his disciples. Not only food during this breakfast, but he also feeds them spiritually. For the entire time they've spent with Jesus, they're being fed spiritually. We need to feed and we need to follow. Jesus is saying, you followed me for this time. Now it's time for you to go show people how to follow me. Feed and follow. Feed people spiritually and show them how to follow me. He's calling us to the exact same thing today that he was talking to the disciples. If you've been around Foundry for any amount of time, you've probably noticed that we talk about personal and corporate mission. And how they're two separate things that often get mingled into each other, and they are entwined. And we're in a really, really interesting place as the capital C church right now. Not just Foundry, but the church as a whole. We're in a really, really interesting place. Because we're at a point in time where corporate mission has to kind of take a back seat. Corporate mission isn't ending entirely. It's not taking a huge pause right now. But there's a time right now where we can't meet corporately. We can't do the things that we would corporately as mission. But instead, there is now a huge welcoming and invitation that we have through everything that's going on for personal mission. See, here's what I believe. I believe that God has called each and every one of us to impact His kingdom, to impact the kingdom of God. I believe that He has a plan for each of you, and I believe that He has something that He wants to do through you for the kingdom. What better time than now? There's never been a time, at least that I can ever recall, where personal mission was as needed and relevant as it is right now. It's a time for personal mission. What is it that God has called you to do for the kingdom? I don't know what that looks like for you, and I'm not going to try to tell you what that looks like for you. But here's my challenge for you. Dig into God's Word, spend some time with God, and say, God, what is it that you want me to do right now, in the midst of everything that's going on for your kingdom? How can I feed people spiritually, and how can I show them to follow you? Because right now is an amazing time to follow me. And I think that's what's on the other side. We have an amazing opportunity to follow Jesus. God, we thank you for today. God, we thank you first and foremost for the time that we have celebrated over the last several weeks. Celebration of your Son doing the ultimate thing, doing the ultimate act of love for all of us. God, that we now have a chance to have a relationship with you because of what Jesus did. And God, we also thank you today that you continue to meet us where we're at, no matter what's going on, no matter if we return to the place that we shouldn't be, but God, that you meet us there and you say, follow me. You say, follow me. And you've given us the invitation today to live out the mission that you've called each and every one of us to. So God, we thank you for those opportunities. And it's in your name we pray. Amen.
The high strong tower, the word is the breath of life, the word is the living power, and he is our light. Beginning was the Word was with God, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. He was before all time, he is outside of time. There is no other God, no other truth, no other way. There is no other God, no other truth, no other way. 'Cause the word of the Lord is perfect, the word of the Lord is true. The word of the Lord brings comfort and healing to you. The word is the high strong tower, the word is the breath of life, the word is the living our light. Oh, 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 oh. The Word was from eternity. In Him all things were made. The Word was from eternity, and by Him you were made. He holds all things together. He spins the planets round. There is no other God, no other truth, no other way. There is no other God, no other truth, no other way. 'Cause the word of the Lord is perfect. The word of the Lord is true. The word of the Lord brings comfort and healing to you. The word is the high, strong tower. The word is the breath of life. The word is the living power, and He is our light. Oh, 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 oh. He is love. He is high. He is the Savior of the world. He is right. He is hope. He is pure. He is grace and mercy. He is sure. Oh, 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 oh. He holds all things together. He spins the planets round. There is no other God, no other truth, no other way. There is no other God, no other truth, no other way.
So we invite you to get your communion elements ready in your house. Gather them up. Maybe you already have them on the table in front of you. That's great. Maybe you're scrambling to try and get a few things together to be able to participate in this. And while you're doing that, just a quick note, the song that you just heard is an original. The song that you just heard is a song that was written by Lisa. And that's a vulnerable thing. Anytime you're an artist and you share something from your heart, something you believe that God has given you, and then you share it back with the community, it's a tremendous gift. And so I just love it that we have a church that has people that are artistic and creative and that take that step and follow that nudge of God. So if you have gotten your elements together now and you're set down and you're getting ready to participate in this meal, this communion meal, one of the things that I think is really special about today is to just think about the story that we were in John 21. So that story ends with a meal again. So Jesus is at the shore, it says, and He's already prepared a meal. There's bread that's there. There's fish that's there. There's this great hospitality moment. Jesus has prepared this whole space for them before they come back out of the boat and come back to the shore. And He's got the elements set up there. And as I think about this meal, and the guys come back and sit down around this meal, so much happens. Peter gets his shame taken away. He gets reinstated. There's amazing things that are happening. But if I think just about the meal in general, maybe this is their favorite meal of all time. I mean, the Passover, we talk about that meal, Last Supper a lot, and about what it means. But, that was tainted with the suffering and the death of Christ. Now they're on the other side of that. This meal, now that Peter's reinstated, now that it's clear we're good, like Jesus says, we're good. I'm commissioning you to go back. Just think about the mood. They're sitting around there. They're enjoying this meal. They're telling stories. There's no fear of what's coming next. I just imagine that as a great time. Beside the lake, they're back there in Galilee, and they share this meal, this fish, this bread, this drink together. And I hope that is something that we can do today. So in your home, whatever you got, if you got a cracker, if you got Cheez-Its or you got pretzels, I don't know, it doesn't matter. But take that and take a small piece of that right now. And as we take this, let's remember who Christ is, that he comes to us and says, it's forgiven. I've taken your shame away. What I did on the cross puts us on the other side. And let's take the piece of bread in remembrance of Christ. And then we lift the cup that holds in it juice or wine or whatever you had on hand. And Christ said, this is also to remember me. Remember the love that I have for you, that my blood was shed for you, and that blood covered your sin and your shame. It's been taken away. And raise that. And in this meal, we have a sense of community with you and whoever's with you, wherever you are. Have a sense of community as a church, that we do this together from all these different places. We have a sense of greater church, that there are meals like this that are happening all across the globe, and we are connected to this family of God. And as we take this meal, we remember the love of Christ, truth and grace. And we remember that, like those disciples, we are commissioned again to go out and just simply to tell people what we know about Christ and what life looks like on the other side.
The head that once was crowned with thorns is crowned with glory now. The Savior knelt to wash our feet. Now at his feet we bow. The one who wore our sin and shame, now robed in majesty. The radiance of perfect love now shines for all to see. Your name is victory. All praise will rise to Christ our King. Your name is victory. All praise will rise to Christ our King. The fear that held us now gives way to him who is our peace. The final breath upon the cross is now alive in me. Yeah, your name is victory. All praise will rise to Christ our King. Your name is victory. All praise will rise to Christ our King. By your Spirit I will rise from the ashes of defeat. The resurrected King His body there would not remain. Our God has robbed the grave. Our God has robbed the grave. Oh, your name is victory. All praise will rise to Christ our King. Your name is victory. All praise will rise to Christ our King. By your Spirit I will rise from the ashes of defeat. The resurrected King is resurrecting me. In your name I come alive to declare your victory. The resurrected King is resurrecting me. The resurrected King is resurrecting me. The resurrected King is resurrecting me. Resurrecting me. Resurrecting me. Resurrecting me. When the mountains fall and the tempest roars, you are with me. When creation falls, still my soul will soar on your mercy. I'll walk through the fire with my head lifted high and my spirit revived in your story. And I'll look to the cross as my failure is lost in the light of your glorious grace. So let the ruins come to life in the beauty of your name, rising up from the ashes. God, forever you reign, and my soul will find refuge in the shadow of your wings. I will love you forever, and forever I'll sing. When the world caves in, still my hope will cling to your promise. When my courage ends, hope will cling to. Oh man, I really messed this up. I'm supposed to start this verse again. Sorry about that. When the world caves in, still my hope will cling to your promise. Where my courage ends, let my heart find strength in your presence. I walk through the fire with my head lifted high and my spirit revived in your story. I'll look to the cross as my failure is lost in the light of your glorious grace. So let the ruins come to life in the beauty of your name, rising up from the ashes. God, forever you reign, and my soul will find refuge in the shadow of your wings. I will love you forever, and forever I'll sing. in the light of your glorious grace. So let the ruins come to life in the beauty of your name, rising up from the ashes. God, forever you reign, and my soul will find refuge in the shadow of your wings. I will love you forever, and forever I'll sing. So let the ruins come to life in the beauty of your name, rising up from the ashes. God, forever you reign, and my soul will find refuge in the shadow of your wings. I will love you forever, and forever I'll sing.
Well, thanks so much for inviting us into wherever you were, in your home, your car, wherever driving around listening to this week. We consider it a real privilege. And I just want to kind of reiterate what we talked about today. Just love this idea that Peyton threw out there, that we're on the other side of the resurrection. We're on the other side of whatever blame and shame that we felt, and we get to live in a whole new space, and just love that idea for us to carry that out as a church. And each week we want to give different ways to make it really simple to take the next step, even though it's different right now. It's just different than being here, and the steps are a little bit different, but we have one step that we're going to keep in place. And the first step around here to really get connected is jump into an About class. And we're going to do one. We're doing one next week, and it's going to be at 11 a.m. It's going to be on a Zoom call. We've kind of truncated it down, so it's going to be a little quicker. We want to hear your story. We're going to tell our story. We're going to cover who we are as a church, what we believe, and what's expected of me if I call this place home. We already have like 9, 10, or 11 people that said they want to come to it, so we've got room for a lot more. So jump on to the events page on our website and register for the next About class. And we will be there. Our team will be there sharing all kinds of stuff. We would love to know that you're going to be there just so we can kind of plan for the day. So next Sunday, 11 a.m.
We might actually have the most room in an About class that we've ever had.
Exactly.
Sign up.
Unlimited.
And you can wear your pajamas.
And you can
wear whatever you want.
Oh,
because
man.
it's on a Zoom call.
come to the About class in your
Are
pajamas.
you wearing pajamas?
Maybe I will next
All right.
week.
Yeah, and your next step, moving on from that, your next step is to get in a group. Another place you can wear pajamas, actually, right now.
Pajamas everywhere.
Groups are looking really creative right now. We've got groups that are meeting. Some groups are meeting multiple times a week. Some groups are meeting once a week. And we're doing, I think, most of those, if not all of those, via Zoom. You hear Zoom a lot. We're Zooming all over the place. But groups are open right now. And so if you want to get in a group, you can find out all the information about all of our groups and how to get connected on our website, Foundry Church KC, under the Connect tab, and click on Groups. Or if you want more direct information, put comments in the feed below, or you can email us at staff@foundrychurchkc.com, and we'll get you into the right hands to get into a group.
Yes, and our final step is the big step, which is you can contribute. And ways you can contribute is you can serve and you can give. You guys have been so faithful in the way that you continue to give generously with your money. But there's a lot of you who are still being super generous with your time as well. We've had people come and serve and do stuff on the grounds and inside the building and stuff, and that has been awesome. We just want to give you the opportunity, if you've been giving with check or with actual cash, now's a great time to get onto the website, foundrychurchkc.com, and figure out how you can do that with online giving and just make it more simple for you. And the last thing we want to do today is challenge you with our 5-minute challenge. We can't do it physically. So we want you to do it virtually. We want you to do some FaceTime calls, some textings, an actual phone call where you can talk to someone and encourage them today. We all need it, and we all need to remember that hope is alive, and you can give that hope just by reaching out to someone who needs it. So stay updated by checking out the website and the Facebook page, and we will see you next week.
Yep.